Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Excalibur Data Systems Roundtable Tech Talk. I am Mike Fuson. This is part of our special Tech Talk series that we've called the Knights of the Roundtable, where we have the opportunity to introduce the folks that make Excalibur Data Systems such a special organization and bring many valuable and special skills to our customers. I'm joined today by Jennifer Gianfrancesco. Jennifer, thanks for joining me today.
No problem, Mike.
So Jen actually is one of our original three knights uh, in a land far away, a long time ago. I think it goes the other way, right? A long time ago in a land far away. Um, when we dove neck deep into Sharewell, when Jen joined us, that was really when our Sharewell practice took off. And it was myself, Jeff Jones, and Jennifer. And we've grown substantially over the last many years in the Sharewell space, and then are now expanding into Halo and CG4 and so many other tools. And so Jen is, I guess we could call her OG. Um, not a play on her last name, but one of the OG Knights. But Jen, you have a deep background in the support ITSM. You go way back to the your very earliest days in IT. Tell us a little bit about your story in IT and kind of how you've gotten to where you are today.
Well, I originally started off doing help desk, an entry-level position, and um, was doing that for a little while, and then moved on to some other larger corporations where I got involved with desktop support. And then eventually, it was after 2011, and there was issues with the job market around that time. I ended up joining another organization doing help desk desktop support and had somebody believe that I was capable of actually managing a help desk, although I had no experience doing that previously. So I stepped into that role and absorbed as much as I could and brought new processes and policies and technology into that environment. Worked there for quite a few years, and then ended up working for a company that had offices both in the US and Canada. So I'm originally from Canada, so I had most of my career that I started off, I was out near the Toronto area. And in that particular company, I ended up being a regional IT manager, where I was managing customers and clients across the globe from Canada, US, Philippines, Belfast, and eventually made the move from Canada over to US. So one of the sites I was managing down near Uniontown, actually, I ended up moving down that way. So I ended up in the States. And then from there, I worked at a couple of different companies where healthcare was the main focus. So I ended up moving into other management positions and ultimately director of IT for a local company here in Pittsburgh, which is where I got introduced to Sharewell. I was actually made the decision to implement them around that time that nobody had really heard of Sharewell. And what is this? So I was in that role for quite a while, and then I decided to move on from that company, and that's how I actually came to be at Excalibur. So I went from an operations side, moving and transitioning into a consulting role where I started doing implementations, training, and so forth with the Sharewell product.
And you've been able to take all of those years of experience in uh, working in having lead roles, director roles of service desks,
Hmm.
and all of the processes that go around it. As you said,
Hmm.
desktop support and all these different areas. I know our clients just love working with you because you bring all of that experience, having walked many miles in their shoes.
Hmm.
In one of the last companies that you were the director of IT at here in
Hmm.
Pittsburgh, was in the healthcare space. So you bring kind
Hmm.
of a unique perspective for a lot of our healthcare customers and some of the nuances
Hmm.
that go into that. Healthcare has some different things, but also working with some of our customers that are in other what I want to say highly regulated environments where you
Hmm.
have to consider audit and controls
Hmm.
and other things that some in some organizations they don't have to go to that high of a standard.
Hmm.
So I know from hearing from our customers, they absolutely love working with you because you bring that wealth of knowledge to the table in helping them be successful. It's one of those things we talk about. Our team is made up of folks like you that have done it. Not, well, I've seen it done, or I've worked with
Hmm.
100 customers that have done it. You did it. You're trying to help customers avoid certain
Hmm.
pitfalls that you may have
Yep.
fallen into yourself, right? Yeah,
Yes. Yep.
and I know all the many conversations that I've been in with you with customers, and I have the same conversations with customers where we say, I know that what you've read and what you see sounds like a great idea.
Hmm.
Here's what it looks like in practice. And the only reason I can tell you what it looks like in practice is we tried to do it. And it
Hmm.
didn't quite work the same way
Hmm.
as it's written. And that's one of the things that we find so true when you look at leveraging ITIL. People say, we want to be ITIL compliant.
Hmm.
There really isn't such a thing.
Yeah.
There's an alignment with the best practice, but
Hmm.
each organization has their uniqueness
Hmm.
that they have to adapt in order to be successful.
Hmm.
And that's what makes it, that's what makes this challenging. It's what makes it fun and interesting. And for many organizations, is how they can make it theirs. It doesn't have to be exactly like they did it elsewhere. I know
Hmm.
you and I have had many conversations about each one of the roles that you played with different companies was unique in its own right because no
Hmm.
two companies did things exactly the same way.
Hmm.
Um, it's all based on, well, what's your industry, what are you doing,
Hmm.
what are your users, how are how are they being serviced, and we've had this big change for so many of us over these last couple of years with the pandemic, where we've all had to work differently
Hmm.
than we did before, and so that's
Hmm.
caused other changes and also shown us what some weaknesses may be. Now,
Yep.
you had mentioned you had moved to the States to Uniontown. I want to clarify, in fact, that's Uniontown, Pennsylvania.
Hmm.
And Jen, you're here in the Pittsburgh area. Tell us a
Yes.
little bit about where you live, because you live in a kind of an interestingly named place.
Yes, I live on Mars. We actually, our little town actually has a little spaceship alien thing in the downtown area. So it's interesting, but yes.
Now, what caused you to settle in up in Mars?
So when I moved here, met my husband and moved here, I knew nothing about the area. So I was basically relying on him to tell me like what's the best place. And he wanted to move north of the city because of the traffic. And I'm sure you're quite familiar with bridges and tunnels and getting in and out of downtown Pittsburgh. We're talking like 15 years ago that I moved here. We just felt the commute coming in from the north would be better. And to some degree, it is. Just depends on where you're going. Like for me to go down to the main office for us, I don't have to touch any bridges or tunnels. I take the turnpike. It's great.
Yes, Jen is spoiled. Yes, a little bit north of the city, and you would be correct. I know your husband Jason
Hmm.
is actually from kind of where our office is, kind of the east
Hmm.
side
Hmm.
of Pittsburgh, and definitely the traffic going into town
Hmm.
is can be challenging at times here.
Yes.
But yes, Jen lives in Mars, and we do tease because
Hmm.
as Jen's been on board, they've progressively moved further and further north. And so we think the next move will be to Erie, Pennsylvania, and then the next move after that will be into Canada. Jen will go back home if they keep heading north
Maybe.
in Western Pennsylvania. Now, Jen, you have some interesting hobbies, and I have to tell you, Jen is Jen has some cats, and one of the cats did a little show for us in the background there
Oh,
outside your door. Um,
yes.
but Jen has a number of very interesting hobbies. So Jen, share with us some of your hobbies.
I wouldn't say they're interesting. I love to travel. It's one of the main things that my husband and I love to do. So we've been all around the world. A couple of years ago, we took a trip out to Africa, and we've been out to Italy. We traveled to Mexico quite a bit. So we like the outdoors. So, swimming, skiing, hiking, whitewater rafting. Um, I like to craft, do crafty things. So my stepdaughter used to do cosplay quite a bit. So I would make some of her costumes for portions of her costumes, like props and things like that. Um, Other than that, I don't, I don't know that I have any other interesting hobbies.
The crafting is what I was going to say. It's been
Okay.
as we watch those of us that are friends with you on Facebook, you'll post different pictures for different holidays where you've seen something interesting and then you've recreated it,
Mm-hmm.
um, and crafting it together, and sometimes made it better.
Hmm.
Um, and so it's always neat. Yeah, Jenna is very creative. Not only in helping customers be successful, but creative in other pursuits as well. So Jen, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for spending a little time sharing with everybody what makes Jennifer so unique.
No problem, Mike. It's been my pleasure.
Great. And we look forward to sharing with all of you, our viewers, additional Knights of the Round Table. Thank you for joining us today.